Hey guys, welcome to the woods. Well, it's been pretty windy today. Pretty good right this minute, but hopefully equipment holds up. All right, so it's kind of heavy, you know? If the coronavirus wasn't enough, now we're sort of dealing with, racial inequalities and financial inequalities and, there's income inequalities. There's so much stuff out there that really all needed to be dealt with. And I was making a correlation in my own mind of, I remember in 2007, I was running a bunch of businesses. They're all automotive related, but I had like 4 businesses going at the same time, and I just couldn't keep them all working together. And anyway, I was exhausted and I needed to close something. So I wanted to go back just to my core business. So like in the beginning of 2008, I started doing that, closing businesses. And then the economy crashed hard. And so my plans of like having just enough money to sort of, close everything up, and I was selling used cars. I had to return cars and deal with all kinds of stuff. So anyway, those things, I probably waited too long to do it. and I was pretty exhausted. And anyway, then with the economy crashing, that sucked away any possible chances I had of sort of pulling out of that with any money intact. So that led me to a bankruptcy, but that took a couple years to get to that point. Then the bankruptcy took a couple years to go through, and it was just like, went through like a long time of stuff just trying to pull me down, and I had to pull up, and it pulled me down, I had to pull up. But I grew so much from that. And I realized that there's nobody, when you own your own business, there's nobody else who's going to give you a more positive view than you have. You've got to be the inspiration to the people around you. Because if you say, I can't do it, I'm in despair, your employees aren't going to show up and say, come on, we can do this. And, it's, maybe it does happen in some businesses, but anyhow, I always felt like it was best for me to sort of I had to sort of paint the optimistic scenario so everybody knew what to be working towards. So I had to dream it. What do I dream is the solution here? And that's what I'm kind of inviting us all to do. But I wanted to back up to this other point that I think is important to realize. Is it's like, kind of like, why now? Why all this stuff? But if I look back at how all these things went, deciding to close my business before it collapsed in 2008 was just dumb luck. But thank God I was already in the mindset of it all closing anyway. So I was working towards the single business in 2008, and then when everything collapsed, and I didn't anticipate going broke, but I did, and I borrowed from everywhere I could. And anyway, so all I ended up was no income and a ton of debt. And then we had to go to bankruptcy, and I didn't anticipate bankruptcy. It was one of my like taboo things that I always felt so terrible about. I don't know what I thought about the whole bankruptcy thing, but anyway, so I've been through it. But it takes years, and man, they're just going to open up every orifice of your body and dig in there and say, what's this about? What's that about? And so it's cleansing in many ways, but it wasn't, you don't feel cleansed unless you realize, I've been probed real deep. So anyway, then my building caught fire. After that, a couple years, I've sort of got my feet back on the ground. I didn't have any real money put away, but I was operational, and I wasn't losing money anymore. And then I don't know, maybe 2011, 12, something like that, maybe that. Anyway, the building burns down and shuts down my business, and now I've got to figure out how I'm going to redo this building, and how do I want things, a million decisions to make, and nobody telling you, if you really wanted to rehab your building or you overhaul your business, you'd put some money away first, you'd get all the pieces in place, you know what you're going to do, and then you'd close it and do all the things and then open it back up. Well, in this case, I'm totally unprepared. I have no idea what's coming or how this is going to be done or who's going to pay for it. So in that, unforeseen time, that was really the time to throw in all the problems. It's like, I'm not going to try to salvage anything. I'm just going to try to move into a sense of, I had to really reach for what's the optimistic point of view where we would climb out of this problem. And if I couldn't move to that optimistic vibration, I had to move, talking about this scale of emotional, emotional progress scale, whatever, emotional ladder. So if you're down in despair and things like that, then moving into anger is a good thing. And that's really what's happened to, the people on the marginalized groups that were in despair have moved into anger. And I think it's a good thing. I don't think that I'm encouraging anyone to move into anger. You don't want to come down to anger, but if you were in despair, then move up to anger. So that's how that emotional ladder works. You need to go through all the steps. I'm talking about now trying to get from hopelessness up to joy and empowerment. And there's a whole bunch in between there, but from empowerment and joy, that vibration, when you rise up to that vibration, that information about the solution and the people coming into place and the alignment of everything to make that happen is already there at that vibration. The solution to our problems in America and in the world right now are already in place. The solutions are there. We just have to rise to the vibration where we can experience that. If you want to stay in fear and anger, we're going to stay right where we are. No solutions coming that's going to yield. Nothing outside of you is going to become no longer fear and anger. And then you'll feel better. And then you'll climb up the emotional ladder. You got to climb up the emotional ladder, and then the fear and anger sort of just goes away because there's nothing fueling it anymore. Because whatever level you're on, if you're in despair, then you're going to see despair around you. You're going to feel despair. You're going to be no good to anyone else. If you're down in anger, then you're going to be exhibiting anger, and you're going to see anger, and you're going to be around people who are angry, and you're going to feel the anger. And as we talked about yesterday, when you're in anger, when you're in any of those fear vibrations, those lower vibrations, your body has turned off function of the brain. Now, at least for any it's in the mode of fight or flight. It's like, I need enough intelligence to run from a tiger, but I need all my blood to not focus on digestion, not focus on body health, not focus on the immune system, not focus on growth. It's all about fight or flight. And we know that physiology is all there, so it's the way it is. You're not going to come up with positive solutions from an anger perspective. You got to come out of anger and despair, for sure. You got to come up from despair into anger. And to some point of some hopeful anticipation, like, maybe somebody's got a good idea. Maybe I'm just going to let go and say, someone else has got this. Someone more powerful than us is putting all these pieces into place. How is this all happening at the same time? It only makes sense from the higher paradigm. You've got to say, this is the right time to deal with all this stuff. The economy is on hold anyway, just like with my business. When the fire happened and everything shut down, that's the time to open up the imagination and say, what do I really want to do? Who do I really want to be? How do I want to set up things in the future? And then you got to have hopeful anticipation that the pieces will all come together for that to happen. You can't know that. You can't wait for the pieces to all be sitting in your hands and say, well, now I've got everything I need to go do something. No, you've got to be hopefully anticipating that those pieces are coming. And just sort of like you're pushing a train and just know the track is just going to keep appearing before the train. You just pick, it's infinite where the train goes. You just point it the way you want it to go, and you focus on that train being optimistically moving in the positive direction that you are envisioning, and the track will just appear, but never more than one piece of track at a time. It just doesn't say, you know what, here you go, it's all set. You bought a ticket to the happy place. It's like, no, you gotta say, okay, yeah, I'm in a bad spot now, but I'm anticipating where I'm going. And anticipating where you're going, being a positive thing, is what gives you the lift. And now you've got more clarity, and now you're at a different vibration. It's like changing your radio station. Now I've moved up to a higher frequency, and I've got a more positive view. And from this positive view, I see some solutions. And I feel stronger. And my body's not in fight or flight anymore. And my brain is feeling so inspired. It's still tough, yeah, but I'm moving up to the joy of knowing that I am empowered with the solution. And now you don't even need to execute the solution. I just need to hold that vibration, that high vibration of joy and empowerment of knowing that the solution is already out there. The universe has already got the solution. The collective consciousness has the solution. We just needed to be frustrated enough to let go of the problem and say, you know what, I got to turn it over to somebody else here. And that turning it over to somebody else isn't as high of a vibration of knowing that you are empowered and you feeling the perfection of who you really are, and the fact that you are a soul, you're a divinely inspired being, came from all-knowing on this short time on life, going back to all-knowing. This short time on life, this interrupter was known. It was known before we came. It was known. You knew it before you came here. We all knew we were in for this thing. So that's life on Earth. It's a lot of changes, a lot of disruptions, but this is a great time to practice your ability to feel the perfection of what's coming before you see it. That's not something we ever used to talk about 50 years ago, but it's everything. If you're feeling the anger and frustration and the wrongness of everything, it's okay as long as you're coming up from despair. So if you're feeling the anger and the frustration and the wrongness of everything, then that's all you're going to see, and that's all you're going to get. You're not going to be inspired with the solution. You would never be empowered with the solution. You're really not serving anyone. But it's still your own journey, so we've got to allow people to be in frustration, anger, and despair, and that's okay. Those of us who can need to climb up that emotional ladder and carry around with us a sense of it's all coming out at the perfect time for us to solve these issues. Let's stir the big pot. Throw some more stuff in. Sure. You got something you don't like? Throw it in there. Let's just keep stirring it up, because we're going to make a new cake, and the new cake is going to be way better than the old cake. But you gotta throw something away before you're going to come up with something new. Now we got to come up with something new, because I don't want those angry people to go back to despair. Stay angry. You're not going to really hurt us. It's not going to hurt the planet. Let them do what they want to do. You can't tell anger how to be angry. That's not the way to express anger. What? Remember we were saying yesterday, yes to everything that's happening. Yes to this experience. Yes to Dan's idea of just focus on myself. Just me try to be more loving, accepting, and understanding. Don't sit down in the anger and the fear and look around and say, I've got some more stories of anger and fear to share with everyone. That's not helpful. But if you're in despair and you want to come up to anger and you want to throw some stuff in the pot, throw it in the pot. We're stirring it up. We're going to make some nice meal. And I should come up with a better analogy for that. I don't know. What are we making? What's it going to be? Cake, I think. Let them eat cake. All right. Well, I'm trying to keep them a little bit shorter. I'm at 13 minutes. So, let's also admit that it's tough. It's tough getting any good sleep. It's tough being optimistic. It's tough doing what I'm saying. The tuned in, tapped in, turned on is tough. Meditation is tough. But this is what you do meditation for, so that when things are tough, you can say, I got to move out of fight or flight. I got to calm my body. I'm no good to anyone when I'm falling apart. So I've got to work on myself. And I got to slow down my breath. And I got to let my little Danny body know that it's okay. We're still going to go out and have fun today. But we're going to also be focusing on trying to anticipate good things coming. And know that the light of divinity, the collective consciousness, the God source from whence we came, has this under control. You just need to move into the vibration. What's our job then if they've got it all in control? We have to move into the vibration of accepting the fact that we don't need to be hoarding so much. We can distribute a little bit more evenly, and we can be more loving to other people and be more accepting of who they are. Be more accepting of who you are. Be more accepting of your mistakes, and you'll be more accepting of other people's mistakes. Everything says go back, focus on yourself. That's what the coronavirus said first. Turn around, sit down, and go within. Because all the treasures are within. All the knowledge, all the solutions are within. So anyway, I ate up that last little bit of time I had. So I'll just end with, my usual, I love you guys, and give yourself a break. It's a tough time. Whatever emotion you're dealing with, it's the right one to be in. Just nudge yourself along, and by giving yourself hugs, loving on yourself, and let yourself be who you are, where you are right now, and and say, Dan, this is a tough time. But no, we knew this was coming. And we knew that we'd be part of the solution. We knew that we're going to pull up all those people who are at the bottom, who aren't able to pull themselves out of the anger. So anyway, hope that all makes sense. And I love you guys, and my phone's saying it's running out of battery, so I'll see you tomorrow.